set to bring you the big stories for the day. Welcome to Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. My name is Victor Peppo. I've got Lakunle Yusuf bringing you all the analysis in the next 30 minutes. Good morning, Lakunle.
Morning, Victor. Morning, Lagos.
It's a bright day. It's a good day.
Great.
Great day to be alive, really. This is Freshly Pressed. Here we bring you some of the news headlines and analysis accompanying them. We don't do it alone. We ask you listening to be part of the show. You can do so simply sending messages to us live in the studio. It's 0809 4440981. Again, 0809 4440981. We are on Twitter. It's Smooth981 FM. Use the hashtag freshly pressed. Guess what? I give priorities to the tweets. I'll take your tweets before 8 o'clock today. We're streaming live on YouTube, Smooth981 FM Lagos. Let's get the show started with this interesting headline from this day newspaper. Buhari gives Education Minister 2-week ultimatum to resolve varsity unions strike. Now, at the end may be in sight. To the over 5-month strike in Nigerian public universities, as the president on Tuesday directed the Minister of Education, Malam Adamu, to resolve the prolonged strike embarked upon by the 4 university-based unions and report to him in 2 weeks. This is as the NLC had said, 26th of July being Tuesday next week, they will join the striking unions in our universities on a solidarity strike for 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday next week.
Looks like Mr. President is just waking up from a deep slumber.
Really?
156 days, and he's just giving a marching order, as they said, or an ultimatum, a 2-week ultimatum. Pray, what would happen in 2 weeks that couldn't have happened in the last 156 days? Let me paint a picture for you. So, if your child got an admission into the university, a federal public university in Nigeria in 2020, I'm assuming then that child should still be in 100 level. Their mates that went to private universities in Nigeria, some of the universities just finished their 2nd year and they are looking forward to resuming into their 3rd year in September. That is how bad this is. Now, to give a 2-week ultimatum, like I said, what is going to happen in that time? We've seen over time, not even in the last 156 days, from years back, how condescending both parties are being towards each other. ASU towards government, government towards ASU. And there is no one-size-fits-all solution to this problem unless everybody comes down from their high horses, like I've always maintained. We know government says, I don't have money to fund everything you are asking for. There is no how you are going to flog a dead horse to bring that money out if they say they don't have. So why are we then insisting that government must give the money? Why are we not changing strategy? ASU has been striking since 1991 on this same matter, and there has been no change. 1991 to date, if you give birth to a child in 1991, that child should be married by now, all things being equal. You are already a grandfather. So if something has not changed in that time interval, why do we still think that is the only way to solve the problem? All of us are members of one old student association or the other at the secondary level. I'm just trying to make an analogy here. The principals and administrators of all these our schools know the emotional attachment we have to these schools. They milk it to get money from us to fund things in the school, whether coordinated or uncoordinated, whether successfully or not. But they do it and with the emotions we give. Has the university system considered this too? To fund, to approach some of their, in quotes, alumni. Come and do this in the university. Come and do this, sponsor a chair, do that, a fund, something. raise money in other ways other than 100% dependence on government.
But why do we have some of our public office holders very reactive? I mean, Mr. President yesterday convened a meeting of government team to find out how far they've gone with ASU. Just yesterday was when that meeting came, and NLC has given just 1 week for this strike.
It's the same thing I'm saying, that it looks like Mr. President just woke up from a deep slumber. The biggest news in Nigeria today, for me, forget the politics, is that our children have been at home. Is the biggest and the most unfortunate news. And we talk about children being used for political thuggery, all other vices that we say we don't want children to get involved in. We talk about those things when they are not gainfully engaged.
But will this strike, I mean, this ultimatum, bring an end to the strike?
Personally, I don't see what's going to happen in 2 weeks. Don't forget, ASU has said, according to the president of ASU, Professor, his name doesn't come to my head now, he said, no retreat, no surrender. Until they give us what we want, we're not going anywhere. He's had personal altercations with the Honorable Minister, Honorable Minister for Labor and Productivity. How can you, for example, in all of this, now, so don't forget, one of the matters for contention is how the government as employer would pay their employees ASU. How can you agree that they should go and develop a software that you will now test it, then you will now, if it passes, you will now use it to pay them? How can you agree to that kind of negotiation? How can ASU to hope that they can win that kind of don't they see that it was a matter of time wasting to frustrate their efforts or something?
Now, before we move away from this topic, I know every year JAM conducts new exams for more people.
They've conducted this year already.
For this year.
Yes.
Now, they conducted last year. I don't know if that of last year had already started, and then this strike. I don't know how the calendar for JAM will now.
How JAM is mandated by law. Don't forget, it has there's a universities matriculation examination,
Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board.
There's an act. So by law, it is mandated to conduct that exam every year.
Strike or no strikes?
It did not say that there was going to strike.
But so how about academic calendar?
It is not JAM's business. JAM will conduct the exam every year. So if, for example, the analogy I gave at the beginning about 100 level and 300 level now, it means that there are 2 exams outstanding that is yet to be considered for admission. What is the implication of that on the facilities in the university? Apparently, universities cannot cope with the number. They have a maximum number they can take per year. So those are the bigger things that are coming out of these things that we are talking about.
All right.
People think that it is just a matter of argument or I must win. But the real important people in all of this matter have been ignored, which is the students.
Now, let's also bring Sanu into the conversation. From the Vanguard, we won't accept any disparity in varsity salary, Sanu being the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian University. They are saying, commending President Buhari's intervention in the ongoing strike embarked upon by university-based unions, but they're also warning that according to the 2009 agreement, they will not accept any disparity in their salary and will take every legal action to ensure it doesn't happen.
So they don't need to strike if they want to take legal action. You cannot go to court and be on strike. So for the life of me, I'd never understand how we got to this point that we have a university system where you have multiple unions and then one union will go on strike and paralyze the entire university system. So if NASU goes on strike today, there'll be no lecture rooms, generators will not come on as when they should come on, the hostels will become very dirty, and then the school will have no choice but to close the school until NASU comes back. If SANU, this one, goes on strike, all admin work would not be able to be done. You will not be able to sign your registration form. You will not be able to get what's that thing called, transcripts, blah 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 blah. and then the university will have no choice but to close down some facilities. If ASU goes on strike, same thing happens. So how, for the life of me, we got to this point is something that somebody should is worthy of a PhD thesis, a PhD research. And I'm saying to myself, so what is wrong in unifying the salary system in university, and then by your job function, it will determine what else you can earn more than the other person. For example, if you are not an ASUS, you are not a teaching staff, you are not expected to go on sabbatical. For example, you are not expected to earn a research allowance, for example. So those little allowances should be the despairing things in what people earn. But where you have a system, the same system, and then you have multiple salary systems in the same environment, this is the kind of thing it breeds. And it's a sorry situation for us that we are here, we're discussing this. This is 2022. Our children are the beneficiary of this.
Yeah, there
I
was
don't know the
hit.
word to use.
There was hit by this strike. Nerocello on WhatsApp is saying 2-week ultimatum is just another way of playing to the gallery. Just tell the Minister of Finance to release the fund. Dakbo, we just thank God that somebody has finally woken our Commander-in-Chief up from a prolonged slumber in order to let him know and be aware that ASU is on strike. Let's hope that our incoming Oga in 2023 isn't a complacent fellow who just comes out to express shock all the time. Yemi in Marina has a lengthy message. We'll try to take it before my comment. Please help inform the Lagos state government that there are heaps of debts piled up for weeks in Idumota Balogun market in Lagos Island. They should help do the needful. As regards the ASU strike, I heard Bubu took Ngige off the panel and handed over to Education Minister. I laugh in another 156 days of strike. Is it not the same education minister that walked out of students a few months back that has been, incognito since this administration started? I agree with the analyst. I wouldn't get my hopes high. I'll keep my fingers crossed. God bless Nigeria. Okay. Abayomi says, well done, Lakunle, on the ASU strike. UTAS didn't pass the integrity test. ASU is useless. Simple. The world is a global village. I beg you, Yomi, please language next time. I mean, there are other words to use. Alumni care. When they also are terrible lecturers and no alumni wants to be involved in anything that will benefit them. As it is, even ASU isn't fighting for the students. That's a message from Anne. Okay, we have another one here. Okay, this your talk about alumni bridging the gap shouldn't be mentioned here. That should be a private arrangement. Please don't give government grounds to abdicate their responsibility. I'm sure if they were meeting in the least milestone payments, we won't be in this mess. Government should just learn to prioritize education. Let's keep things going to premium times now. CBN raises interest rate again, second time in 2022. Now, the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria raised the benchmark interest rate to 14% from the previous 13% last month.
So, to my immediate memory, this might be the first time in the last 10, 15 years that the
Monetary
Policy
Committee
will raise rates twice in a year, more than once in a year. I can't easily remember if there's anyone before now. Okay, so the 11-member committee met and unanimously voted to do this, even though in the committee, even though it was a unanimous vote to do that, all of them had different basis points recommendation. So they chose to do it by 100 basis points. Now, the question for me is this, that I will ask them exactly if I was privy to that. Was the question I will ask again, like I always do, is what was the problem we were trying to solve by doing this? Yes, we know that inflation is there. You want to assume that, so if inflation is out there, you want to reduce the amount of money in circulation. Yeah. So if that is what we're doing, can we then ask ourselves how much money is out there anyway that can actually purchase or buy the things everybody needs to buy. For example, a bus ride um, from Iano to Victoria Island is about 300 naira today, I think, from maybe 100 naira or 150. That's almost double. Yeah. So when you now do this, that rate, that fare is going to go up again. I don't think that raising rates is going to solve the problem that is out there on the street. In this same report, we talked about what um, food what's it called? Food inflation is that it is now at 20% or something.
Right.
So if you increase rates, that means that there'll be less money in people's pockets to be able to buy the food that the prices are going up.
But let's also put things in proper perspective. Just last month, I mean, the report for last month, I believe, inflation moved from 17.71% to 18.6%,
exactly.
right? Are we not also looking at the exchange rate in this conversation? Because
exactly. So
it's just a moment, it's also adding up to what we're experiencing in Nigeria as a country. And some have argued, economists have said, this particular inflation we're experiencing is cost push as against demand pull. So why increase the interest rates?
exactly, that's the point that I'm making. I use the bus ride example, the food example. That milk that is in that triangular sachet this time last year was 60 naira. Today is 100 naira. You get what I'm saying? So the cost of things are going up. Raising rates is not the solution for people to be able to still be able to afford it.
I'm even talking
naira.
about stabilizing the dollar when I talk about exchange rates.
It's the same thing. It comes back to what we've always said, that if we have an economy like we have today, that almost everything we buy, when not toothpick is imported. It's cheaper to import. Rather, it's cheaper to import than to make in Nigeria today. What are we doing to invest in infrastructure to make us be able to produce things ourselves? Even the crude oil that we make here, that we mine here, we send it abroad to be refined and buy it back. So even if it's that one only that we're able to do, make power available for people to be able to, as cheap as possible, for people to be able to do things. I mean, invest in industry and all that. That's what we add value to what we are producing. That's raising rates is the easiest way out of all of this problem, as I see it.
But will it even change anything at all?
It is not.
Okay, quickly, let's look at this one from Vanguard 2023. INEC proposes live ban for politicians, parties involved in vote buying. Taking a deep breath. Would like to get your thoughts on this.
I think that it's not always the best option to make everything about law, legalizing everything. This vote buying thing, in my opinion, it's a matter of being able to appeal to people's consciences, to make people realize it's a social engineering thing, in my opinion. The more you make it about law, about criminality, the more the challenge you have in being able to solve it. If we went through a social engineering path, for example, to say to people, we make people realize the costs to them for accepting bribes to vote for a particular candidate or party, as it were. If people will only realize the cost to them, and they see how cheaply they've given away their power to exercise that franchise, I think we'll go further than legalize. After all, how many of us really, in quotes, even though we say ignorance of the law is not an excuse, how many of us are really, really aware of all the laws that holds us in this country? How many of us are really, really, really? So going the legal way, saying you want to punish people, okay, so you ban me from participating in an election, right? But I have a chain of people that are my followers that I can nominate somebody who can still be chairman. I will still be taking dictates from me. So how much has that changed that I'm still able to influence the outcome of elections? So I think that we should face the people who sell their votes much more than the people who want to buy.
Thank you very much for that. Consumers to pay more for petrol in northeast and southeast. Lakunle, what is going on? I thought that the NNPC, okay, not the NNPC, the regulator, midstream. I can't get the full name now.
NDP,
Such a long one.
such a long one. PPRC
It
was
used
so
to be
easy.
PPRA, at the
PPRA.
time. But well, aren't we going to have a unified template for pricing when it comes to PMS? Are we going to see discrepancy across geopolitical zones?
That's what this report suggests. It says that northeast it will be 189, southeast 184, north central it will be 179, southwest 179, northwest 184, Abuja 174, and Lagos
What is going
169.
on?
So let me even start this way. So how are you equating buying fuel in, say, Ibadan, which is the southwest, at 179, to buying in Nasarawa, that is in north central, for the same 169, and for the same 174, and Abuja, that is less than 20 minutes away from Nasarawa, you buy there at 174. How does that mark up? So do you understand what I mean? Do you get what I mean? Nasarawa is less than 20 minutes
Right.
from Abuja. Abuja is 174. Ibadan is like 15 hours to Abuja. There it is 179. And then you buy the same thing in Nasarawa, 179. That is just 30 minutes away from Abuja. Do you see that there's already an inconsistency in this template, as it were? So while NNPC is trying to regulate, the explanation the CEO of NNPC, that's what we should call him now, the CEO of NNPC, the new NNPC that was launched yesterday, right? The explanation he gave is that it's a government decision, which is more social and political than economic, that they don't want to transfer unnecessary costs to people. But we know that the only way to mitigate against this, first, let us even refine our products at home. Let our refineries work. Then we can start talking about this bridging thing. If we refine at home, if we can improve security around our pipelines that transport, we won't worry about trucks complaining that diesel to carry PMS is 800 naira. So those are the fixes. This price template is not a fix to the problem. It's a problem on its own, as it were. Let us do the things that we should do. They are going to be difficult to do, yes, but we need to do them so that we won't be speaking this English over and over again.
Okay, let's take it over to Guardian newspaper. Local airlines seek 40% fuel surcharge waivers as Jet A1 hits 822 naira per litre.
There we go again. I recall the last time when the Association of Airline Operators threatened to down tools earlier this year. The National Assembly quickly met and gave them some leeway into, I think they granted them some loan, or that mandated CBN to give them some facility or something so that they could cope with it. Now they are using the same system now. Yesterday, aero contractors we heard had suspended flight operations.
For now.
So if they suspend flight operations, it does not mean that where their planes are parked in the airport, that they're not paying parking fees. So where is the money they're going to be using to pay parking fees going to come from if they are not operating? So they would cut their noses to spite their face, because they'll still keep paying those monies anyway. Those planes will still require to be serviced, So what they're asking in this report is to say that, look, there are so many taxes. When you look at the breakdown of that 55,000 you pay for a 1 hour flight to Nigeria, when you look at the breakdown of that 55,000, it will interest you to know that it's just about 18,000 that's actually the cost of flying. everything else in it is one tax or the other.
Mm.
So they are asking the Civil Aviation Authority to sacrifice one of those their taxes and then raise it and pass that income to them so that they can use that to bridge the gap in these things. So it's there is so much challenges to overcome everywhere. And China, I said China, and Russia and Ukraine is the easiest
excuse,
culprit and excuse that we use for everything.
Before we go to the messages again, because we need to, Premium Times, Nigeria set to develop Lassa fever vaccine. Good news, is it?
Beautiful news. The reason that like I said, let us solve some of these problems locally. If we are not dependent on other people to give us vaccines or to sell to us, we're able to do it ourselves. Beautiful. Then we can then look forward to eradicating the incidence of Lassa fever. As at end of the first quarter of this year, we still had outbreak in about 7 states: Nasarawa, Zamfara, I think was it Lagos or Ondo? I can't remember the state, but there are 7 states like that, and it's a recurrent thing every year. So if we have a Lassa vaccine manufactured in Nigeria, it will be easier to get it to people. I'll be able to convince people to go and take the vaccines, and then we can start thinking about eradication of Lassa fever.
Thank you very much, Kunle. Let's run through some of your comments, beginning with YouTube. Olaolu, Mr. President, good morning. Nigeria has changed a lot since you clocked out. Some sarcastic message, in that one. Let's quickly run through with some for you on WhatsApp. On WhatsApp, we have this one here. Oh my goodness, quite a lot of them. Well, let's begin with this one from Chibuzo, who has this one. Is it now Mr. President is waking up to compel the Minister of Education to resolve ASU strike? Even the Minister of Education didn't need his principal to force him to carry out his official duty. Then Ni, quite a number of the requests mentioned by ASU chairman has no financial implication. We're just on autopilot now in this country. Unfortunately, the programming running is wrong. The programming running it is wrong. Yemi in Marina is saying the problem is that we have a robust monetary policy and no functional fiscal policy to back it up. Nigerians are in for a long ride. Tolu,
True.
Shouldn't ASU go and learn from LASU, that's the Lagos State University? What are they doing that they haven't been on strike for over 5 years now? Was LASU ever on strike for that long?
LASU is a state university.
Yes.
Their employers are different, so the conditions of service may not be exactly the same. And I hear on good authority that ASU has actually expelled LASU from its membership.
Wow.
For a while. So it might also be a factor, but there's a state government that's the employer of LASU staff, not federal government.
I hope NNPC Limited is not going the way of power sector, where rather than solving our electricity problems, is selling darkness. May God help us. Idima Puza in Surulere sent that one in. Number of messages coming in today. Ni, Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TEF Fund, was set up by the federal government in 2011 to spend education tax to transform educational infrastructure. It has obviously failed and must be audited and reformed. CBN claimed to have spent billions on agricultural investments over the years. Where are the outputs? The party in power has failed to implement the changes it promised Nigerians in 2014 and does not deserve to continue in power. I hope Nigerians and their parents will come out to vote next year. Shegun, I saw those new NNPC logo yesterday. They should have engaged the services of brand professionals. Those logos don't just look good. Arguable. I totally agree with the analyst that making laws to criminalize vote buying will amount to nothing. It's an empty threat. How can you prove it? The National Orientation Agency should educate voters on the dangers of vote buying. I'm beginning to think NOA is on strike itself. Henry, I'm almost certain that the fuel prices will be far higher than stated in the report. People are fond of exploiting the system however they can. Yomi comes in again. Luckily, do you understand the margin? Try to add the cost of transportation from Lagos to Ibadan, then you'll see these prices are reasonable. This is a business I do. Cost of diesel to the north is between 250,000 to 400. At least diesel has been deregulated. If not, the marketers will sell it for 80K and still collect subsidy.
Apparently, he didn't get my analogy, what I was trying to pull out in that analogy I made.
Okay, let's see if we can take some of your messages on Twitter before we go. Just one more. Let's take from Austin. INEC to ban vote buying for life. During the last elections, Buhari gave shoot-at-sight order to ballot snatchers. Where did that happen? Okay, thank you very much. I see all your messages. Let's just squeeze this one in. Good news about the vaccine, but will you take a Nigerian certified vaccine? NAFDAC that can't manage the flooding of unregistered drugs at the port to Idumota will now do proper testing for vaccines. Misha, I don't see the use. Thank you very much. All your messages very valid. We need to go. Let's do this again tomorrow at 7:30. Thank you very much, Lakunle. You can catch Lakunle at Lakunle70 on Twitter, right?
Yes.
My name is Pepple. 8:15 will take you right inside the locker room. Good morning.
The headlines, the stories, the news.
Apparently, the guy didn't get what I was trying to get at.
Yes.